Welcome back to the Books Brothers Podcast, the show where longtime friends spread across the country reconnect over the pages of a good book. Each episode, we dig into what we're reading, share our thoughts, maybe dabble in debate, and of course, laugh a lot. Whether you're a die-hard bookworm or just here for the conversation, welcome. I'm Thomas.
I'm Adam.
I'm Garrett.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Adam F. as in Frank.
Amazing. I love it.
This week, we continue discussing the book we're reading, The 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work by John Gottman. So first, they don't make them like they used to. Cable TV. And I'm talking pre-900 satellite channels cable TV, when you only had like 60 channels like everybody else. When's the last time, besides maybe after the Super Bowl, you got together with a group of family or friends and knew what the heck they were talking about when they told you what they had been watching? There are about a million things to be entertained by at this point, with all the streaming services, online creators, video games, and it's awesome, no doubt, but I kind of miss the days where all of your friends had the same 3 or 4 cartoons, TV shows, sitcoms, or movies to watch. It was so easy to relate with anybody under the assumption that they were probably familiar with what you had been watching recently. What do you guys think about cable TV?
I remember I had a coworker, and he used to always say, it's going to be weird to think that there's going to be a day when you're explaining cable to your kids. And at this time, there's going to be like 15 streaming services. And you're going to be like, at one time, you didn't have to purchase 15 different things. There was just one thing, and that's where all of the things were. It's like, oh man, and it makes you think like we're really making this a lot harder. I mean, you have more options, obviously, but we don't need all these options.
Dude, I still have the bunny ears.
I have bunny ears too.
Oh, nice.
I still have those 60 channels.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back when I didn't have like Netflix or whatever. I was just too cheap to do it. I got on like a 48-hour kick where like every night, because there was nothing else entertaining on than the news or whatever, I would just watch the first 48, like the crime documentaries. And
Oh, yeah.
That's all I watch. But you got to be careful with the bunny ears because they're a little sensitive based on the signal. So it's like there'd be times where, I couldn't sit on that side of the couch because it would distort the picture. So I had to make sure I'd be on that side, but I'd have to sit with one butt cheek up in the air, just to get it going. And then soon enough, a fart would come out and signal would be right back,
Yeah, no, there's like certain channels where I know I have to move our bunny ears to like a certain spot on the TV stand.
Yeah.
Man, with cable TV, I just miss Cardinal baseball being easily accessible.
Easy to watch,
Channel 37, Fox Sports Midwest, every day. Now you got to buy like Bally Sports.
Listening to Mike Shannon.
Mike Shannon, yeah. Al Raboski.
Yeah. There were so many ways to relate because I remember also like just the inside jokes you'd have with people. Like everybody knew who the ShamWow guy was from the infomercials.
Oh yeah,
or whatever. Like you don't have that anymore. It doesn't exist. Nobody watches all the same commercials like they used to.
Yeah.
I feel like
I do think it's something that is actually a good thing. Going back to a version of that, I think of the conversation around anxious generation, people's attention spans shortening, and probably people's general disposition for selfishness and impatience. When we travel for a family vacation and stay at a hotel and we turn on the TV, my kids are literally programmed. Hey, I want to watch Spidey or I want to watch Bluey. And I'm like, well, I have to look at the channel guide and see if it's on there. And they just don't understand because when we're at home, they can just pick whatever they want and they get to pick the exact episode. So even if Bluey is on, then they're like, I don't want this episode. Like, sorry, you have to watch it. They're like, why? Linear television is blowing their mind. But I think of an equation or a similarity with restaurant menus. So Cheesecake Factory. Full disclosure, I like Cheesecake Factory. However,
that is
their menus are small textbooks.
That is the biggest menu ever.
That's what I'm saying. And I appreciate going to a restaurant and there's only 6 options because I really don't need Cheesecake Factory probably has over 100 dishes. It's probably not
analysis paralysis is what it is.
Well, at that point, what's your core competency? You know, like everybody knows.
Yeah.
Get out of here! Get out of here with that.
Why are you
No,
trying to be
I
good with
agree. I think
literally
the same
everything
thing.
else?
Oh, it's a real thing. And I think there is something to be said about you can't just get what you want when you want it. You have to be patient. You have to wait. I remember Saturday morning cartoons. It's like it's Saturday morning. My dad's going to let me watch Looney Tunes and Bugs Bunny and the Roadrunner and Tasmanian Devil or whatever. It excites you to look forward to something. And I think
You have to wait for it.
there's some like, of course, would I rather truly go back? No. But I think there is something to be said that it's not just nostalgic, but it's probably good for the human psyche and our character development to not just be, all things everywhere all at once when I want it, how I want it.
And to Tom's initial point, you could go to school and most of your friends were watching Saved by the Bell before they went to school. So you could easily slip into that conversation.
Not even back then, but even now, I can talk to anybody my age and we can relate over something that we all watched. And like, kids growing up right now. Oh, snap. But yeah, I mean, anybody growing up right now won't be able to do that with their generation ever, really. I mean, maybe they will with Bluey or something like that, but a lot of other things they won't. They'll miss.
I'm gonna miss
out
all
on.
the comedy shows that you can quote to one another.
Yeah, that too.
Even movies, like in Scrubs, the "Guy Love" song, so good. Just sing that to your bro. It's Guy Love, Guy Love.
Yes.
Sing it, man.
All right.
I know
we
that was
do the
longer,
ad
but I
real
thought that was
quick?
good. Good discussion.
That was a good one. All right. So on to one thing. Let's talk about chapter 4 of the book, Principle 2, Nurture Your Fondness and Admiration. This chapter talks about nurturing fondness and admiration. And if there was one thing to take away from this chapter, for me, it would be something super obvious. Couples need to actually like each other. It's amazing how simple this concept is. So simple that it makes me ask myself, how do couples miss this? This concept of liking each other is what the author calls a fondness and admiration system. Having this at the foundation of your relationship is paramount to making marriage work. For marriages in distress, it's a key sign that Gottman looks for to determine if there's hope to repair the relationship. I don't know if anybody had any comments on that one thing. I didn't really plan on asking any questions yet, but what do you guys think? Okay, I'll keep going.
I'll say one thing.
Yeah.
I do think there is something to be said about when we read these chapters. There is something here where it's almost overly simplistic. I think to myself, this guy is so successful, widely known, has made a book, and his findings are make sure you like each other.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's something to be said about that because life happens, and when you get married and you see all the good, bad, and the truly ugly, that's not as easy as it said, So it's like nurture your fondness and admiration. Okay, anyone could have told you that, but then why is the divorce rate 50%, right? So I think that's something I've been taking away is reading the first principle and this principle. It's like, man, he's using a lot of words. It's 10 pages, and he's just saying something very simplistic.
It's the way he describes it. I feel like that's so good, and the way he breaks it down in terms of like couples that he's observed, right? Like it's pretty good.
So I can't force my kids into an arranged marriage. I have to make sure that the kids actually like each other first.
Well, you can move to India.
They do say divorce
once they
rates
say
are lower.
yes, then they have to like each other.
But I think to note on that though, I think that the lesson that one can learn from the success of arranged marriages is that fondness can grow. And
True.
I think that there's a lot of that came with this chapter where it's like, okay, not currently fond of your partner. Say the things that you used to be fond of your partner. Find things that you're fond of your partner. Do the mental work, put the time, brainwash, go to a hypnotist. Lie to yourself. No, I
mean, the points of this chapter took a pretty hard left turn, but yeah, I your point holds true to what he's saying, I think. All right, so let's break down some of the key information in this chapter. Obviously, a successful marriage is built on a foundation of positive feelings towards your partner. These feelings transcend fleeting romantic love as they are more related to having a deep appreciation and respect for who your partner is, despite their flaws. The author Gottman argues if couples can maintain a sense of fondness and admiration, they'll be much better equipped to weather the inevitable storms of life. This is because when you genuinely like and respect your partner, it's easier to give them the benefit of the doubt, forgive their mistakes, and have healthy, constructive conflict. It's explained that if fondness and admiration are absent or have eroded, negativity and resentment can easily take over, making even small disagreements feel monumental. One thing I like about this book is that it's packed with helpful content, including action steps, questionnaires, and detailed exercises meant to improve your relationship. By the way, check the show notes. We have a link for where you can find those things. So, first question, did any of you guys have thoughts on the questionnaire or any of the exercises as it pertains to where you're at with fondness and admiration? And did anything come to mind regarding things that you feel help or hurt this aspect of your relationship that you routinely do or maybe don't do, habits you have, anything like that?
Well, I know I asked last episode, so I'll ask this one. Did anyone score above or below that 10? Or so you all scored. Did anyone score below a 10?
No.
So I
Nope.
I didn't either, so no one can see this. So everyone scored above a 10, which says, according to his rubric, this is a strength in your relationship. And I was reflecting a lot reading this, taking this quiz, because 18 months ago, when Stalen first introduced me to this book, I kind of wish I had written down and saved my personal scoring, but I'm not sure 18 months ago if it would have been 10 or higher. And I was just really grateful. I think I actually just read this last night. So I read it the night before we're doing this recording. And just, I feel very grateful. I didn't have a perfect score. I was kind of grading myself a little bit hard. So it's like, I probably scored like a 17-ish, but I was like, no, what are the three things that, or what was one? I don't know. Anyways, there were a couple where I'm like, if I can't quickly think of this, I should grade it false. And it was like, so I think it was maybe like 15, but I was just very grateful because that was not my score 18 months ago.
I would assume that for anybody who's been with somebody a long time or married a long time, the questions about romance, passion, and like a fire in your relationship would be ones that a lot of people routinely probably don't have a true answer to, I would think, just because those things are kind of like, they take a lot of intention, I feel like, to keep up long term.
We enjoyed, so we kind of got caught up on this over Monday and Tuesday, so we spent a couple hours each night going through these exercises, and it was really good. I mean, we kind of got into a rhythm doing it, but exercise 3 was really good. So cherishing your partner, it gave a list of, I don't know, 100 plus adjectives, and you would pick a number of them and then basically tell your partner what you cherish about them and like use it in a sentence. And so I don't know, I found that to be powerful. Just obviously there's like pretty common known things that you probably talk about a lot in your marriage, of things that you cherish and appreciate each other for. But some of the like surprising ones, are kind of nice to share with your partner. Maybe things that they might not know that you see in them, and then also the same in return, right? Like, to, wow, you cherish me for that, like maybe less common things that you don't talk about on a daily basis or whatever. So we enjoyed that. I think it was powerful to like speak it and like share with each other and to look each other in the eye and like, hey, genuinely, I cherish you for this. It was powerful for us.
It's cool, Rob. Thanks for sharing. If you'd be open to sharing, I'm curious, is there anything that you mentioned kind of the more unique things that you cherish each other? Is there anything you recall saying to Marianne or that she said to you?
That I said to her or she said to me?
Yeah, vice versa.
So I cherished how wise she is. We were actually talking about something. she was sharing off of a comment that someone had said leaving church a couple weeks ago. We were talking about Lent, and typically you give up or do something for Lent. And I had done like a men's group, and one of the guys was basically saying like, oh, the men do, a lot of physical things, and the women do, more emotional challenges and stuff like that. And Marianne kind of disagreed with that. She didn't say it to the person directly, but, us men, we're more like physical beings. And so it's easier for us to do like physical challenges, but it's harder for us to do emotional challenges. So she was almost challenging like, well, we should switch that. Like men should try and dive into more emotional challenges to like grow our intellect and our EQ, and women should, it would be more for Marianne to do like physical challenges to kind of grow physically as well. So I just thought that when she shared that with me, that was a very wise thought, and I agreed with it. So I wanted to recognize that in her.
It's awesome, man. It's cool.
Should we each pick one adjective to say about our partners live?
No.
If you want to, go for it.
No. I think as I read this chapter and to say, Ruth and I haven't gone through this chapter yet together, and hopefully we do. I think it's been a fun rhythm thus far. But in the last part of this section, there's like the 7-week plan. And I don't know about you guys. I think Rob and I kind of talked on this a little bit, but I think I found myself being thankful, like for Ruth and I's relationship right now, that we don't need a 7-week plan. And so it's not to say that it's not good to continue to build like fondness for your partner, but I think I was just like happy that I'm like, I think that we're in a good spot right now. And I imagine similar to Garrett, probably the first time I picked this book up, I maybe wasn't the same way. One thing that I do recall doing at one point whenever Ruth and I were having conflict was like in our kind of like daily check-ins, we'd give each other a compliment each day. And that was a really fun thing. And I think that was good for in a time whenever we were going through some trials, and I'd recommend it to folks whether they are or aren't. And I think it's something, as I read this chapter, I felt a little bit like challenged to do that.
So I want to do it. I haven't looked ahead though. I mean, this is a 7-week.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't meaning that.
So
just like yeah.
I might do it, but then I don't know what other 7-week commitments he has for us.
The rest are like 12-week commitments. So
12-week commitments.
No,
You're kidding.
Yeah.
But I mean, in all seriousness, though, like I want to get the most out of the book, and I want to grow in my marriage. So I mean, it's a challenge for all of us. I don't think it's a big commitment. I mean, week 1, Monday, is literally list a characteristic you find endearing or lovable about your spouse, right? So you can literally spend a minute to 3 minutes on this a day. And I think that's my challenge for all of us, is that we actually do the exercises in the book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool that these exercises are so straightforward, and basically, I mean, to describe to anybody who can't see them right now, they're basically just habit builders and thought pattern changers. So if you have negative thought patterns about, your spouse or significant other that kind of get in the way of you appreciating them or appreciating your relationship together, or if you have these things that you were fond and admired at one point that are kind of buried under the last so many years of, whatever you guys have been going through, these are just good exercises to kind of pull that back out. And I'm sure a lot of people have these habits already. So it's kind of like you don't really need to rebuild a habit that you already have. But, it's definitely a great reminder.
Yeah.
All right, I'll move on to this next part.
Matt, were you going to say something?
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I agree, Tom. It's a good reminder for a lot of these things, like that first exercise. It's just a good reminder. The part where it's like choose some qualities about your spouse. I actually read that section right before Valentine's Day. And one of the challenges is to write a love note to your partner expressing how you feel or cherish her. And so for Valentine's Day, I wrote her a note and picked out the qualities that I had checked off in this book, in this list, and put them into a note for her to read. So that was
nice.
Pretty cool to actually put that into practice. But I would like to go through
What happened
the rest
after
of
that?
it.
Did she like it or did she burn it? Come on, give us more details.
You can't share what happened.
Did she wink at you?
Stay and listen for the subscription only version of the podcast.
Yeah. It's too spicy. Too spicy for this podcast.
Did her eyes flutter?
I can't tell you.
Hey.
But she liked it a lot.
Here we go.
But I
don't know why that was funny.
So I haven't done any of this book with Emily yet. I won't be on the next recording because I will be in Aruba celebrating our 10-year anniversary.
Jamaica.
I plan to take this book
Come on, let
with
me
me.
take you to Bermuda.
Yep. And going through some of the exercises on this. So
Heck yeah, man.
hopefully
That's
it's good.
cool.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad you guys are doing
That'd be
that.
fun.
Living the dream.
You should record your conversation on the beach, and then we can splice it into the episode.
Secretly.
Include all the spicy bits.
All right. Anyway. All right.
Definitely get us up to 300 followers on Instagram.
So I'll share some of the advice given in this chapter to help build and maintain fondness and admiration. Again, this is super common sense, but sometimes hard to do consistently throughout the ups and downs in your relationship. The first tip is to express appreciation. Regularly talk about what you admire and appreciate, big and small. Leave notes like Matt. Offer compliments, express gratitude. This is easy to make into a habit and doesn't cost a thing, so why not? 2, scan for the positive. Actively look and focus on positive qualities in your partner and your relationship, rather than dwelling on the negative. This might require a conscious effort to shift your perspective, which can be pretty difficult, and I think that's where a lot of these exercises come in. Number 3, recall shared history. Reminiscing about positive memories from your past together is a powerful way to rekindle feelings of fondness and connection. Look through old photos or talk about shared experiences. And I kind of had a note about that last one because he mentioned one of the couples that were having a lot of problems in the book and how they recalled the first time they met, or that the husband was kind of excited to pursue wife and she never knew that. And that's a really good point. I feel like every time we reminisce about things, it does kind of help bring a lot of those feelings back that maybe you forget about. My wife really likes the Snapchat memories or like the time hop memories on her phone. So every single year she'll get the photos from exactly like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and she's been doing it forever. So almost daily she'll be like, hey, look, remember this? And it's always just kind of a fun little exercise that I don't think I've thought about it in that way until now, until reading this book, that probably does help us remember a lot of really cool things that we've done together and kind of continue to build connection. I don't know if you guys have any examples of, how you do these things, but I had a couple questions. As far as fondness and admiration goes, are there certain times in your relationship or in your life you can remember, or just certain patterns that you find it's really difficult to express fondness and admiration for some reason? I got a bunch of questions.
When we're fighting?
Answers to that.
I think it's hard to express fondness and admiration towards somebody when you yourself aren't feeling great mentally from like stress, work stress, or whatever. So that's what I would say.
I think when either party is really stressed out, it's hard to think about the other one.
Also, when I'm sick, it's really hard to express both of those things.
Have you seen all the memes online about, when men have like the flu, they pretend that they're like, in so much pain. It's like, yeah, you gave birth to my child, but I have the flu. You'll never know this pain.
Yep. That's
There's
totally
so many good memes about that. It might be true.
Mm-hmm.
Women have a higher pain tolerance and a greater immune system. So because
I didn't know about the immune system.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Childbearing, man, they got to stay healthy when they got a little baby in them.
I guess so.
Thanks for mansplaining that to me.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. That's what I was going for, actually.
Sweet.
Maybe men just like to get down with the sickness. Humor is a great way to build fondness and admiration. I don't know why he didn't mention that.
Yeah,
for sure.
I feel like especially women are probably usually, I mean, if you poll women, a lot of times humor is one of the top things they look for before they're, when they're single and stuff. So
And money.
again with the jokes. See, there you go. If you have enough humor, you can make up for money, I bet.
Let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsors.
Are you tired of being steamrolled in your own marriage? Introducing Voice Finder, the revolutionary app that helps you locate your backbone before your spouse helpfully schedules your entire weekend again. Hold up. With Voice Finder, you'll get daily confidence boosts, expertly crafted comebacks, and a virtual coach who reminds you that sure honey isn't the only phrase in your vocabulary. Based on zero scientific research, but 100% real-life experience, Voice Finder turns whatever you want into here's what I think, and somehow you'll still get dinner on time. Download Voice Finder today because even doormats deserve a day off. Voice
That was
Finder.
really good.
Find your voice, keep your marriage, probably.
I like it. That was a good one, Robin Garrett. Nice job.
And now back to the show.
I'm trying to think of a more thoughtful, in-depth answer than it's hard to be fond when you're in a fight or when you're sick. Like those are obviously obvious ones. I'm trying to think of my own experience and how to summarize my own experience from the last 10 and a half years. But I think when there is hurt over time, that can either compound or it can be resolved. And I think if it compounds over time, you want to, like what he described in the opening chapters, you want to stonewall, or, I think you want to protect yourself from feeling bad, or you want you have a justice complex, right? An eye for an eye.
Win. Yeah.
You want to win. So arguments turn into a competition rather than how can we get on the same page. And when that it's maybe not compounding, but when you add it up over years, it's almost like you dull your mind because you don't want to feel that pain of maybe feeling unwanted or unappreciated or unvalued. So you view the other person in a negative light, maybe comparably, so that I don't know if you feel better, but it makes you maybe feel like the situation's more equitable, maybe. I don't really even know what I'm saying
I know
in
what
that
you're
regard.
saying. Yeah.
But I think there's some element of like, hey, this sucks. And then it happens over and over. And then it's just like, oh, this is who that person is. I don't actually see any good qualities about that person. That's oversimplifying it. But those little moments, negative moments over the course of weeks or months or years, fill in the blank for however long you've been with your spouse or partner. And that can grow into negative sentiments over time.
Yeah, it's like a downward spiral, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And like the author was saying, you kind of bury all this stuff under layers of these kind of bad habits. And a lot of the stuff's still under there. You just have to dig it back out and be consistent. And it really only takes one party, I think, to be strong enough to just say, okay, look, I'm going to open myself up to maybe getting hurt here, and I'll be patient and just be more fond of this person and admire them for the things I used to admire them for. And I feel like that reciprocates if you do it long enough. I don't think hardly anybody would take that behavior and just kind of ignore it. I think they'd open up too if you gave it a chance. And I think this is probably what John Gottman has experienced based on kind of the way he wrote this chapter and the way he wrote these exercises and talked about being consistent throughout 7 weeks. I think a lot of the stuff, it probably doesn't take that much to kind of open that box again, get each other talking and appreciating each other.
Yeah, you used a term I thought of was sweeping things under the rug. It was about almost 3 years ago now, and I met with someone who was kind of a mentor figure to me in Denver. Because of the pandemic, we didn't get to meet too much, but we were talking about I met him at an entrepreneurship event. So we were kind of talking business and how work's going. And we were just kind of talking about the next stage in Brooke's career and how residency was coming to a close and what would be next. And out of nowhere, we were talking about work. And out of nowhere, he goes, yeah, there's probably a lot of things that are swept under the rug that you all should spend time talking about. And I was really weirded out because it had no context to any other part of the conversation, but I almost felt like it was prophetic in a way. Like that was the Holy Spirit kind of speaking through him very clearly at that time. And when when she finished residency, we transitioned to her traditional her first 9 to 5 job in our marriage after 7-8 years. I went in with like, finally, we can take time to address these things that we haven't made or had time for during med school and residency, similar to that doctor or whatever. I mean, Brooke knew where the back door was, but those careers are very time intensive, and basically the opposite of what I thought would happen happened. Marriage actually got harder when residency ended because now we had more time together and had to then address the things that we didn't have time or we would just sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There was almost more work involved because we had more time. She was home every weekend. Yeah. She was home every night. That was completely new. And that 7-week program in the book or whatever, sometimes it does take time.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes intentionality.
Camille and I did long distance for like 2.5 years, and we always joke that the short weekends or weeks that we had every few months were kind of like the most difficult because we were finally like in person together for once, and we just didn't know how to handle it. We had been used to talking to each other this whole time, sharing things, everything else. And then when you're in person, you want to go like do all these things together and you want to go plan all this stuff. And then, connection is just totally different than what you're used to over the last couple of years. So I totally get what you're saying with that. So to wrap it up, keep fondness and admiration in mind. They're not just nice to have in a marriage, they're essential ingredients for its long-term success. Thanks a lot for joining us for today's discussion about this chapter of the 7 Principles of Making Marriage Work. Next time, we're covering Chapter 5, Principle 3, Turn Toward Each Other Instead of Away. If you enjoyed the show, hit follow and leave a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Send us a message or share your experience with us on Instagram @Books Brothers Podcast. Until next time, stay fond, my friends.